Hello, welcome to the Day Before Game Day podcast. I'm Ruchik. I'm joined with Agilan and Garv, and we will be previewing the games of the Wild Card weekend. Up first is Colts versus Bills. Agilan, can you explain what the Colts can do to win the game?
All right, so the Colts are a pretty exciting team that's coming into this playoffs. Last year, they obviously didn't perform so well, especially with the departure of Andrew Luck in these recent years. They've been left without a quarterback. However, recently they've acquired Philip Rivers, an all-time great, who's able to pass the ball, although his motion may be a little bit ridiculous. So, in terms of their offensive stats, they rank 11th in rushing yards and 14th in passing yards, which may not seem like it's all that great, especially for a playoff team. But their defense is what makes them special. Their rush defense is ranked second, which is absolutely ridiculous, but their pass defense is ranked 20th. This might deceive you, even though the Colts may have a ridiculously good pass defense. They've had a very tough strength of schedule, and that's probably what's caused their pass defense to be so bad. All right, now here's Garv with some stuff on the Bills.
All right, so the Bills are a hot team coming into this matchup. Although they are ranked 20th in rushing, the main heart of their offense is Josh Allen and the receiver core. They are ranked third in yards per game with 299.1 yards per game, especially with the special connection between Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Their defense is not one to overlook. With 119.6 yards per game allowed, they are ranked 17th, which may not seem impressive, but they're able to hold a team off in scoring. So let's talk about keys to a victory.
All right, so I'll start off with the Colts. So the Colts, in my mind, have three specific keys to victory that they need no matter what in order to win this game. Now, the Colts' rush offense is ranked pretty low at 11th, but in certain games, they've been known to absolutely go crazy. Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor have been known to form one of the best duos anyone's ever seen in a long time in terms of running backs. So, when talking about the Colts, if you go back to the Packers game, although they have not, although the Packers may not have the perfect run defense, they still have a decent run defense, as we've seen in recent weeks. Jonathan Taylor rushed for 90 yards, and Jordan Wilkins rushed for 21 yards, and DeMichael Harris rushed for 19. Without Nyheim Hines, one of their best running backs, they still managed over 130 yards rushing, which is one of their keys to their victory during that game. So I believe the Colts, especially considering that the Bills are one of the top teams, need over 120 yards of rushing in order to solidify the fact that they have a good chance of winning this game. The second part is Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers has been known to turn over the ball a lot and not produce a lot of points, especially recently. I believe that Philip Rivers needs to throw and fumble no more than one time during this game in order for the Colts to be alive, especially considering that the Bills have such a high-powered offense that can put up a lot of points on the board. The third key I have to this is due to the fact that the Bills are ranked third in pass offense, and they're ranked and the pass defense for the Colts is ranked 20th. Now the Colts may have a tough schedule, but they need to be able to stop teams when it really matters. I believe the Colts need to hold Josh Allen to under what, like 210 yards in order to successfully have a chance to win this game.
All right, Garv, what do you think? The keys for the Bills to successfully pull a dub?
Well, so the first key that the Bills really need in this game is to let Josh Allen do his thing. So Josh Allen had a career year this season, and he solidified a spot in the MVP race, although he may not win it because of the fact that Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes are in it. He should not be overlooked, and he is a definite MVP contender. He broke many franchise records, including passing yards, passing touchdowns, and completions. In regards to this wildcard matchup against the Colts, the Bills often should do their best to avoid attacking the Colts defense on the ground. The Colts defense is second in total rushing yards allowed and yards allowed per rush this season. With this obvious strength of the supposed offense being their like air attack, they should be obvious to they should be the obvious choice of how to find success moving the chains against the Colts. The second key that is necessary is that the Bills have to win the first half. They must be on top in the first half. And this is going to be a tough matchup with game planning, specifically because of the amount of movement on the Colts offense. And the Colts team is extremely well rounded, but they don't like any one thing spectacularly, and it's just like all average in each and every aspect. So if the Bills outscore the Colts, they should be able to solidify a win. And finally, on the defensive side of the balls, the Bills should win the turnover battle. So what I mean by that is that like Josh has to prove that he is more capable of calculating when to take risks to ensure that he does not throw any picks or fumbles. And if you look back, I believe last year in the wild card game against the Texans, Josh Allen really lacked in that aspect, and he lost the turnover game, which ended up in them losing in the wild card. So the Colts are like the league's best in terms of taking care of the football. So they really have to put pressure on the Colts team to win the turnover game. And with those three keys, they should be able to solidify a wild card win.
Okay, so
All right. So
How about you, Hrutik?
okay, so on top of that, there are some recent injury and roster changes that have been occurring on the Indianapolis Colts side. Darius Leonard was activated to the roster from the practice squad as a COVID-19 replacement, and elevated tackle Jared Valtier was activated to the roster from the practice squad as well. So not much as in depth value. However, it is something significant. So there might be something with as just like a third running back or another offensive tackle. Similarly with the Bills, they have elevated offensive lineman Jordan Devi and receiver Duke Williams from the practice squad. So just another couple of backups that can be influential to the game.
Darius Leonard is actually really influential.
No, Darius Anderson.
Anderson. I thought you said Leonard.
No, not Leonard.
All
He
right.
starts, my guy.
All right. So, now let's move on to some predictions for who's going to win the game. I'll start. So I believe the Colts will actually pull off this victory. I know this may seem weird, especially considering the Bills have put up 40-plus points in the past 2 weeks and are considered to be one of the best teams in the AFC. However, I believe the Colts have the keys in order to beat them. 1, Phillip Rivers has been to the playoffs many times. His career is over 10 years long, and he has lots of experience in the playoffs. I mean, he isn't as likely to get disgruntled. Josh Allen is a quarterback known for turning over the ball. He takes risks whenever he wants to for the sole reason that he believes in his receivers. I believe that Josh Allen will turn over the ball more than once, especially considering the fact that last year in the wild card, Josh Allen was under immense pressure and turned over the ball 2 or more times. This year,
receiving corps?
This year I believe you'll do the near exact the same thing. In addition, Josh Allen relies heavily on 2 receivers to power his offense. Nearly every time he throws the ball, it's to one of these 2 receivers, and those are Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs. Cole Beasley has been an average receiver in recent years. Josh Allen has elevated him to make him a receiver who possibly has star potential sometime in the future. However, the Colts secondary may not be considered one of the league's best at the moment, especially considering the amount of yards they allow per game and that they're ranked 20th overall. However, they are known for having 2 prolific corners that can really lock up certain receivers. And those corners are Xavier Rhodes and Rocky Sin. And I know recently there's been a lot of hate going around for Xavier Rhodes, but for the past 5 years, Xavier Rhodes has been a top 10 corner in the league on the Vikings and on the Colts. Now, when talking about these 2 corners, they will likely lock up Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley to a certain extent. Now, Stephon Diggs is a top 3 or top 4 receiver in football right now, so I don't know how much that'll take effect, but it will still have a certain impact. Now, other quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, have been known to throw to more than 5 or 6 receivers every single game. The receivers are constantly in rotation, not Josh Allen. Josh Allen relies heavily on both Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley. In this case, I believe that these 2 corners will have a large impact on Josh Allen's throwing ability. That, and combined with the fact that he takes too many risks and throws too many turnovers, would likely lead to the fact that Josh Allen would not be able to push his team in order to win this game. Because the Colts are a team that, regardless of how well their offense plays, their defense can hold up.
So what would you say the score prediction would be?
My score prediction would be 24-17 Colts.
Alright, also another note, Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs are questionable to play Saturday's game, so we don't know if they will play, but I would assume
I think they will
most
play.
likely. Cole Beasley, not sure after the leg injury he had, I believe 2 weeks ago. Garv, what do you think?
Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs are pretty short, so considering the fact that their height is smaller, Josh Allen will be able to air it out against Xavier Rhodes and Rocky Sin.
Okay. Garv, what is your score prediction for this game?
So before I get to my score prediction, I would like to point out that Gabriel Davis is an underdog coming into this matchup. And if he gets enough catches, the Bills could solidify a win. I have the Bills winning 30-20.
Yeah, I agree. Bills have a good receiving core. Interesting thing is Bills' defense has been playing extremely well. the last couple of weeks. Now that I say that, it's probably going to be reversed. But however, the Bills' defense has been playing extremely well, scoring, and especially their scoring has increased also on the defensive side. So I do have the Bills winning 31-24, although this is a potential for an upset case. Okay, next game, 3:40 p.m. Rams versus Seahawks. Again, what do you think the Rams will do? Or what do they need to do to win this game?
All right, so in general, when I'm
hold on. 1 quick second. Injury report, Seattle Seahawks running back Rashad Penny is added to the injury report on Friday. So he is questionable to play. And so in the evolution of that, Alex Collins has been moved, elevated from the practice squad. So we'll probably see him as a third-string running back, but who knows if he'll play with Chris Carson, Carlos Hyde. And the Los Angeles Rams have activated defensive tackle Michael Brockers from the injury reserve COVID list.
And Jared Goff.
He's still questionable.
He's still questionable.
All right. Now I'll begin with the Rams. The Rams are ranked 10th in rushing offense, 13th in passing offense. Now that may not seem spectacular, but the Rams are privy to one of the best running back duos in all of football, Malcolm Brown and Cam Akers. Now, when I'm talking about the Rams defense, it's arguably one of the best in football, if not the best in football, especially due to the presence of both Jalen Ramsey, who's considered a top 3 cornerback, and Aaron Donald, arguably the single best player in football. They're ranked 3rd in rushing defense and 2nd in passing defense. Now, when I'm speaking of the Rams, in terms of takeaways, the Rams have historically held the Seahawks this year especially to near close to 20 points. I believe that the Rams will have to put up 17-plus points this game in order to beat Seattle. Recently, Seattle has not been facing a lot of competition. They've been playing subpar competition. I believe that their offense is a little bit stale right now, especially considering the fact that Russell Wilson has cooled off his extremely hot start at the beginning of the year. Now, the Rams have already beat the Seahawks once this year, and divisional games, as you know, are always going to be very highly competitive. Now, the Rams have had some winning success in recent playoff times, especially considering the fact that they made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Can you really say the same for the Seahawks, other than Russell Wilson? They lost to the Packers in the divisional in the last Super Bowl they made it to. They don't have a lot of wins in the playoffs. Now, I believe that the Rams, in order to beat the Seahawks, will need to sack Russell Wilson 3 times. Russell Wilson is known as one of the best quarterbacks in extending plays. Aaron Donald is known as the best edge rusher in football, meaning that if he can get to the inside and somehow manage to sack Russell Wilson at least 3 times, I believe the Rams don't just have a fighting chance to win this game, they have a very good chance to win this game. Moving on, the rush. Now, Seattle's rush defense is not bad. However, the duo of Malcolm Brown and Cam Akers has been known to crush defenses. I believe that the Rams will need at least 150 yards on the ground in order to win this game. Finally, the third takeaway I have is Jared Goff or the backup, whoever plays, will need to have a minimum of one touchdown in the air. And now, normally you could say, okay, so why can't they just run all their touchdowns in? The Seahawks rush defense is good, and defense tend to adapt when you run the ball 24/7 in the end zone. I believe that they need to at least throw 1 or 2 touchdowns in the air in order to win this game, as this would allow the defense to have to stay on their toes. The Seattle defense.
Okay, Garv, what do you think the Seahawks have to do in order to win this game?
Well, the one major thing is they have to pass. Russell Wilson must be comfortable leaving the pocket, looking at the fact that Aaron Donald is going to be on the hunt for Russell Wilson the entire game. So he must be comfortable to leave the pocket and either rush it or be able to throw it. And one important thing is that Tyler Lockett, I think, will be the X factor of this game. They and DK Metcalf both set franchise receiving records last week against the 49ers, and they're going to need similar performances out of these wideouts in order to cement a win in the wild card. Jalen Ramsey will most likely cover DK Metcalf, so that leaves Tyler Lockett to have a possibility of a career playoff game. So Russell Wilson must be able to connect with these 2 receivers in order to ensure that they are able to score points on the board. So despite the fact that Aaron Donald will be on the hunt for Russell Wilson, there's a good news for the Seattle Seahawks with Brandon Shaw and Mike Iupati playing this week. for the first time since week 14. On the defensive side of the ball, the Seahawks are gonna have to cross their fingers that Jamal Adams can be a go against the Rams despite getting a shoulder injury last week. He is no longer in the IR and I believe should be available for the Seattle Seahawks game. So if he has a career game, be able to intercept the ball, then he should be able to get the Seattle offense good field position and ensure a win.
Okay, so similar points. However, the main concerning on both sides is the offense, especially the Rams. Sean McVay has been able to create some quarterback-friendly offensive systems throughout his few years at the as the LA Rams coach. So the main concerning thing is, will whoever plays the Rams, whoever is John Wolford or Jared Goff, will they be able to extend drives similarly with Russell Wilson? They need to get DK Metcalf more involved. I understand he is being guarded by Jalen Ramsey. However, he needs to get some more involvement and make plays. And also, this concerning to both sides, they need to avoid 3-and-outs. Considering how well these defenses are playing the last couple of weeks, they need to avoid going 3-and-out at the beginning of the drives. They need to keep the opponent's offense on the bench and create more opportunities for their team. Okay, Gillian, what do you think your score prediction?
All right, my score prediction for this game is very similar to the game that was played earlier this year. I believe the Rams will beat the Seahawks 24-21. Now, here's why I believe the Rams will beat the Seahawks, and it's pretty simple. Like Garv said, in order to win, Russell Wilson needs to connect with his receivers, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. The very first time that these two teams met, Jalen Ramsey was one-on-one with DK Metcalf the entire game and held him to only 28 yards off 2 catches. This is very uncharacteristic of DK Metcalf. And now, the Rams are not just one cornerback deep. They're 4 cornerbacks deep. Darius Williams, Troy Hill, both exceptional cornerbacks who are going to be guarding Tyler Lockett as well. The last time they met, they met twice this year. The first time, Tyler Lockett only had 66 yards. Now, let's go into the next game when the Seahawks managed to beat the Rams. This game was solely due to Jared Goff's missteps and other missteps that will happen in the Rams offense. Even in this game, however, DK Metcalf had under 50 yards. Sorry, DK Metcalf 60 yards and Tyler Lockett had 44 yards. Now, these are not large receiving games by either receiver. And these are the main 2 receivers that Russell Wilson targets. It's very unlikely that either Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf will have an exceptionally good game, especially considering that this is DK's first game as a receiver that he has a chance to win, because obviously he lost against the Packers last year. I believe that the Rams can easily hold out against the Seahawks, especially considering that Jared Goff has looked good in recent weeks, and also considering the fact that their run game has looked way better in recent weeks. I think it's a pretty obvious outcome that the Rams will win, although that might not happen the way I predicted. That's what I believe.
So my prediction for this game will be Rams 21, Seahawks 19. So I agree with Aguilan that the Rams will come out on top. And however, I don't think it's going to be too high scoring. Of all the underdogs in this wildcard slate, the Rams are the most likely to win this week because they win against the Seahawks in the defensive matchup. Aaron Donald has 16 pressures in both the games that he played against the Seahawks. And as Aguilan had stated, Jalen Ramsey limited DK Metcalf's impact on the game. So this game is going to be ugly, low scoring, and it's going to be close in the fourth quarter. And because of the fact that McVay has a 5-3 record against Pete Carroll, he should be able to come out on top and crown themselves the real champs of the NFC West.
Okay, I have the Seahawks beating the Rams.
Clown.
Okay. Let me explain why. I have the Seahawks beating the Rams 24-17. I understand. When they originally in the first match, the Rams did win. However, the defense of Seattle wasn't very good. But when they played 2 weeks ago, Seattle's defense has stepped up, and they've held the Rams to 9 sole points. So if the Seahawks can play a decent offense and their defense steps up, I feel the Seattle Seahawks can win. However, I'm not saying the Rams can't win, especially with Aaron Donald and their entire defense being extraordinary. I do have Seattle winning 24-17. And with the Rams defensive line, I will say Leonard Floyd, I have him It's a possibility that he plays a big outcome in this game. Moving on, the next game in the day is Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Washington football team. Again, what are 3 things the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can do in order to secure the win?
All right, let's start off with an overview of what Tampa Bay really is. They're one of the most loaded rosters in the NFL, with arguably the best wide receiver core we've ever seen in Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Scotty Miller, etc. The depth just keeps going and going. What's more, they have the consensus greatest player in history in Tom Brady playing for them at this point in time. Although there have been concerns over Tom Brady not really showing up to games, recently he's proven those assumptions wrong, arguably being in the MVP conversation through a few weeks of this year. Although he fell off later in the year, it's not like he's not at an elite level anymore. Now, let's talk about watching how the Buccaneers are doing as a whole right now. In terms of rush defense, they are ranked number 1 in the league. However, their pass defense is not ranked as well at 21st. However, here's the thing to keep in mind. Although their pass defense in terms of yards per game may not be up to par with some other teams, they take away the ball so many times it's absolutely ridiculous. At the start of 2019, the Buccaneers team has taken away the ball 53 times from other teams, which ranks for 4th highest in the league. Now, if the Buccaneers defense is so good at both stopping the run and taking the ball away, if their offense can really step up, you can see how they're such an elite team. Right now, their offense is ranked as 28th in terms of rushing, although they have one of the hottest running backs in the league, Ronald Jones, and it's ranked 2nd in passing, just behind, of course, the prolific Kansas City Chiefs. Now, when we're talking about the Buccaneers offense, the fact that the passing offense is ranked so high shows that Brady is still elite. And even though the rushing defense is ranked low, Ronald Jones has been known to spark off for 75-yard runs every once in a while, and he's a very explosive back. So I really wouldn't worry about them on that front, especially considering that they have a large depth in terms of their backfield, including Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. Now, in terms of what they can do to win this game, there are 3 specific key things, like you mentioned, Pratik, that I would say they must do. Now, Tampa Bay has one of the highest floors I've ever seen for any team. Their roster is very stacked, so even on their worst days, they aren't a terrible team. They're still an average team. On their best days, they're very, very good. Issue is they're very inconsistent this year. After wiping one of the best teams in the NFL, the Packers, out by over 20 points, they lost to the Saints by nearly 35. Now, moving on to the 3 takeaways, as I mentioned. The first takeaway is their defense needs to play to the standard that they've been playing all year. Although some people online, cough, cough, Skip Bayless, think that the Buccaneers defense has been playing subpar this year, they've still taken away the ball in several key moments, especially the 2 pick sixes against Green Bay. Now, if they can keep up that standard while stopping the run as they have against the Washington football team, who's very run-heavy, considering their injured quarterback and lack of receiving depth, save Scary Terry. Antonio Gibson is the focal point of their offense. And if the Buccaneers can stop him, they veritably stopped Washington's offense today. In general, when talking about stuff like this, I believe the second takeaway that Buccaneers need to win this game is to generally be able to sack Alex Smith more than once. Now, the Buccaneers are known for having very good linebacker depth in terms of having Lavonte David and several other key players at the position. If Lavonte David or some other players including Jason Pierre-Paul, can get several sacks, then I believe that Alex Smith won't be able to overcome this pressure, especially considering the fact that he's coming off an injury. Now, the third key takeaway I have is that Brady doesn't turn the ball over. Now, the Buccaneers offense is an extremely high-powered offense. However, Brady has been known to throw the ball to the other team, especially considering that Bruce Arians is a very deep throw-heavy coach. Now, if Brady can stop throwing to the other team and focus on maybe short passes or medium passes or whatever it needs to do to conserve the ball, I believe that Washington's prolific defense, which is ranked second in terms of stopping the pass, would not be able to overcome their scary team as a whole.
Okay, Garv, what are some things that the Washington football team can do in order to beat the Bucs and move on?
The Washington football team is at home for a Super WildCard Weekend playoff game for the 3rd time in 9 seasons. In the playoffs by the 2012 season, the Redskins jumped out to an early lead against the Seahawks before Robert Griffin's knee collapsed, seemingly taking the team's playoff hopes to the turf with him. And it's easy to forget that the Washington Redskins were able to hold the lead against the Seahawks in the middle of the fourth quarter, and they eventually lost by 10 points. In 2016, the Kirk Cousins-led Redskins held a lead against the Packers, and then they blew it and lost to the Packers by 17. This season is unlike any of those two. This time, they're playing at a record of 7-9, where it was a fist fight in the NFC least division. And they barely made it, but Ron Rivera's one not done in the championship shirt show that there are still hopes for them to compete in the playoffs, and their job is not done. However, the one problem is that they're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This team, I believe, is better than the NFC Pro Bowl team, and it has been a hot streak with Bruce Arians, Tom Brady, and their wide receiving core and their defense. However, this team is not vulnerable. This team is vulnerable. And the Washington football team will have to take note from teams that beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, such as the LA Rams and the Chicago Bears, since they cannot really mimic the New Orleans Saints. So the first key to the Washington football team winning this is that the defense needs to hold Tampa Bay to no more than 24 points. If this Tampa Bay team is able to score at least 24 points, then they could go on a hot streak and blow out the Washington football team. And this Redskins passing defense is ranked second in the NFL, right behind the LA Rams. So they can mimic whatever the LA Rams did in their defensive play in order to ensure that Tom Brady is not able to pass and holding them to less points. The second key is that Washington does not lose the turnover battle in this game. It's going to be a tough defensive struggle since both teams have really stellar defenses, but they need to get like an advantage of one less turnover than the other in order to create turnover differential, which will be in their advantage. And the third one is that Washington football team will have to pass. They cannot run the ball effectively. The two teams that beat the Buccaneers this season, the Chicago Bears and the LA Rams, each beat Tampa Bay, but they rushed for less than 40 yards. So they are the number one ranked rush defense in the NFL. So in order to win, Washington would need to pass on more than 70% of its offensive plays. So it should be a career day for their wide receivers, and I see Logan Thomas having a career playoff game tomorrow. And
I absolutely agree. So the main concern I have, so this game can go either two ways. So either team having a decent chance of winning this. However, the main concern I have is, will Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers be able to get to a quick start? Throughout the season, they've been playing okay, average, and below average in the first half, and then playing extremely well in the second half. They are more of a second half team. However, this far into the season, they need to get this fixed. They need to be able to get an early lead against this good Washington football defense. If they aren't to do this, they might struggle later in the game, and it might come back to hurt them. So this is something they need to really mainly focus on. Also, for the Washington football side of things, the QB play is very important. With Alex Smith being questionable to play, and Tyler Heineke getting a lot of first team reps, so we still don't know who is the starting quarterback for the Washington football team. If it's Tyler Heineke, he has made some great plays in the one game he started for Dwayne Haskins. However, it's not this. However, it won't be as great as Alex Smith running in the backfield, controlling the offense. So with depending on the quarterback, regardless of the quarterback play, the Washington football defense does have to step up and make some big plays. So, a quick injury report before we go into predictions. So, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have downgraded LaShawn McCoy to out with an illness versus Washington. So, we will see a lot of Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. Also, the Bucs have elevated cornerback Herb Miller, linebacker Deion Buchanan, offensive lineman Ted Larson, and defensive lineman Benning Poteo from the practice squad, and they have waived linebacker Chapelle Russell. Similarly, Washington has elevated receiver Dontrell Inman to the active roster from their practice squad. Also concerning Washington, they have Antonio Gibson is questionable, along with Terry McLaurin and Alex Smith and Kevin Pierre-Louis. So that quarterback play still is in question, but I do expect all four of them to play. And Thomas Davis Sr. is out. Is not going to be playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So heading into score predictions, Gillen, what is your score prediction for this game?
I predict that the Buccaneers will finish this game 34-10. And now, this is due to the fact that the Buccaneers have, like I said, a very, very high floor. And the Buccaneers don't tend to perform down towards other teams, like some other teams, like the Steelers have been accused of doing. As their floor is very high, I just can't see them losing. And I have the Buccaneers winning 34-10 because I see Brady overpowering the Washington pass defense.
Okay, so Garv, what is your prediction for the upcoming match?
My prediction is Washington football team 24, Tampa Bay 17, because I see the defense overpowering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense.
My score prediction for this game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning 31-20. I say this because although this is going to be a competitive battle, especially with the defensive side, the way Tom Brady and the receiver corps are playing extremely well, I feel they will overpower the Washington secondary. Also, Ronald Jones has been playing exceptionally well, and although Washington football team's defensive line has been very extreme and very good for their team, their defensive rushing sets haven't been well, and they haven't been able to stop the run. So I feel that Ronald Jones will be able to rush for a significant amount of extending drives, and the Tampa Bay receiving corps will be able to help them out a lot. Also, with the quarterback play, as a mystery in Washington at the moment, it's most likely the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will win this match.